Her Private Hell, directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, starring Sophie Thatcher, Charles Melton, Havana Rose Liu, and many more. So let me just say right off the bat, the main reason why I wanted to talk about this film on my channel is because, to my own surprise, I saw a lot of hate from the critics from the first reactions. I saw a lot of them criticizing the fact that it's soulless, there's no real plot, there's two different plots going on that don't make any sense, and the film is mostly just really good cinematography and cool visuals. And now that I've seen it, I could kind of see what they mean, but I do disagree because I think that they're trying to judge it like a conventional film. And this film is very art house, which I did not expect because the trailers don't really market it as that. They do lean into like a cool stylized slasher film. And you know, that is a mistake on the marketing, but I do get it. When the film is genre blending, you kind of need to stick to one. You can't just like throw it all out there or else it does seem very unfocused. And this film is genre blending a lot, and the slasher element is not very prominent. But like I said, more than anything, it's just an art house experience, and personally I really enjoyed it. And like I said, this film has a lot going on, so really the story itself is a little bit of slasher and mostly a psychological emotional journey of Sophie Thatcher's character Elle. But also there's a Nicholas Winding Refn very specific tone and very specific sensibilities where it's very sexy and very violent at the same time. He loves to blur those lines, and I feel that because there's so much going on, this film could have felt messy, this film could have felt unfocused, but what really ties it together, as my thumbnail would suggest, is the score. The music of this film is so important, and I think that's why this film works. The score is done by Pino Donaggio, I believe that's how you pronounce it, a legendary Italian composer. And the score is like romantic, classical, big orchestral. That does not match what you see on the screen, and I think that's a good thing, because you would think, looking at this film, hearing the plot, seeing all these visuals and the overall atmosphere, you would think the score should be like dream pop, synth, John Wick-esque type of vibes like you would see in the movie Drive or Only God Forgives. But this one, I think, does a lot of heavy lifting to make you see that this film is fantasy, this film is dreamlike, it's hypnotic, and it's beautiful in its own weird way. And like I said, it's Nicholas Winding Refn, so there's violence, but the violence actually was not that brutal. And even though there's only one sex scene, and the sex scene is quite tamed, and there's no nudity in this film, the entirety of this film just feels sexy. You know, like you got all these gorgeous women, the very stylized fashion, the very stylized makeup, and just, it's a very specific thing, you know? It's not just the male gaze, it's also the female gaze, because you got Charles Melton, chiseled face, very ripped, and he's oiled up, fighting people. And even with the older actor who plays Sophie Thatcher's father, he's like an older guy, but he's wearing leather, and the way he's smoking, and I just feel like there's like a tone there that like everyone is meant to look sexy in some weird way, or just cool, you know, like that cool vibe that he's known for in his films. There's a very specific shot that was actually quite cool and visually to look at, but it's just so interesting. Like I feel like it only works in one of Nicholas Winding Refn's films. Someone shoots someone, I believe, or they stab them or something, and then it just cuts to a woman's legs sitting on a couch, and the blood goes, just splatters across, and it's just like weirdly a work of art, you know? It's weirdly beautiful. And once again, I just feel like the score is what really makes this work. It's what really makes the film feel cohesive. This film actually made me think of the famous George Lucas quote where he says that 50% of a film is the music, and I feel like in this film it's like 50% music, 30% cinematography and aesthetics and vibes, and then 20% like story and characters. And I know like that may sound terrible for some people, depending on your sensibilities, depending on your taste, but I feel personally for me, I feel like the music just is so good and so specific that it just brings it all together. And the little that you do get with Sophie Thatcher's character, I feel like the cinematography, the close-ups, the slow motion of her expressions, and like I said, the music elevating it, to me it does enough to make me feel things and to follow this story, even though it's told in such a strange way. So yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this film, and I would recommend it to people who are into art house or into Nicholas Winding Refn's work, you know? And yeah, like I said, I mostly just wanted to do this review to put some positivity out there, because I think the movie deserves it for the right audience. You know, this movie is certainly not for everyone. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this film if you've seen it, and let me know your favorite Nicholas Winding Refn film. Thanks for watching.